Okay, well, thank you for everyone joining us today. I really appreciate it and your time. My name's Dermot Foley, and we're here today to talk about the white whale of educational technology. As many of you know, over the years, you've been using learning management systems like Google Classroom and Blackboard for asynchronous posting and assignment structure and all those kinds of other fun things. And you've been utilizing systems like Zoom and Google Meet for your synchronous work, but there seems to be a missing link. And the missing link are these platforms that further enable collaboration and sharing. And it's something that we're always looking for here as the technologists at Hunter College, but fortunately, we have a lot more talented people, namely faculty, who are using them in their classrooms. And I'm really grateful today that one of those faculty members is going to be joining us to discuss her experiences with a platform known as Flipboard. And Flipgrid, we'll edit that one out. 3, 2, 1. And that platform, by the way, you didn't know this. It's not called Flipboard. It's called Flipgrid. Flipgrid was purchased by Microsoft a few years ago, and it has a lot of strengths that might make it a good fit for your plans in the upcoming semester. Before we share, before Liz shares her experiences with it, I just want to talk about a few technical aspects of Flipgrid that really interest us about it. Namely, here seeing the Flipgrid main site, it allows you to sign in with your Hunter SOE ORG accounts, also known as Google accounts. So you and your students will not have to have another password to yet another platform. And within Flipgrid, then, the interface so far we found is pretty clean and straightforward to allow people to develop on the faculty side groups with their courses or cohorts, and then topics within those groups so that people can then answer certain questions or prompts. And they do that generally mainly through video. Flipgrid is FERPA compliant insofar as that Flipgrid will not share data or information that's posted on their servers with anyone. Of course, that means that the students and the faculty members, just as we have with G Suite and with Blackboard, we have to make sure then we also ensure that compliance. So FERPA compliant, unlimited number of accounts and topics, no other sign-in, and a lot of potential. One other thing to consider after today's presentation, if you want to learn more about Flipgrid, one great way to do so is maybe their own marketing, but there's a whole Flipgrid channel on YouTube that allegedly, or thank God I hope, has permission to share certain videos of students over the years in K-12 settings. And there's some really interesting ideas here with word problems, with various subjects and topics. So it is a kind of interesting platform. It's been around for a few years. And most importantly, though, the reason we have the interest is fortunately our great colleague, Liz Klein, went about using it in a few of her classes and thought it was really promising. So without further ado, we're here to see Liz, not me. Liz, I'm going to ask you, my friend, to go ahead and let me just make you a co-host so you can share your screen and go right ahead with your thoughts on Flipgrid. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. So my name is Liz Klein, and I teach in the special education department. I teach the behavior disorders program and in District 75. So I know that the beginning of, I used Flipgrid before the pandemic, but how many of you are finding that you need more ways to engage your students and build community? So put your thumbs up if you find that is a problem within your classes. So I found that there can never be enough ways to build community with my students, and especially that if I am meeting them for the very first time. So I found that Flipgrid really works in a different way than discussion boards, because I can have the students start to build community before I actually meet them on Zoom or in Blackboard. And that's really important because our students are really geared toward videos, and they're geared toward using emojis and pictures, and this is the way they communicate, and this is the way that they teach their students to communicate. So this app really works very, very well. And also I found that it works conveniently, very conveniently on a phone, so that they can just use this app right on their smartphone, and they can add their video. So I look at it also as an alternative to Blackboard discussion boards, or if you're using Google Classroom. Google Classroom is great, but it's very static in the way that it's really difficult to set up discussion boards. So the Flipgrid is not only a way to do your first introduction to the class, but it's a way to start using as a more interactive discussion piece using very short videos. So when I say short videos, I mean short videos from 1 to 5 to 10 minutes. We're not talking about the kind of videos that you would have teacher candidates go into their classroom in video. I'm talking about videos in terms of themselves speaking or answering writing prompts. So let me go ahead with talking a little bit about that more, how I'm starting to use that in my classes. So this summer I taught 2 courses in which they were meeting on Google Classroom. They had to because they were alt cert students and they're not on Blackboard yet. So before students got to the class, I had them make short videos of themselves so each of them can look at each other's videos and get an opportunity to see who they'll be traveling with their whole school career. So if you're working with a cohort model, this is great because students can start to get to know one another. So I feel that my first attempt at it was for non-academic discussions. So what I had the students do was I had them make a short video of themselves, and I posted some prompts, some icebreakers, getting to know you posts, and I told them go wild with it. And you can, on Flipgrid, you can add little emojis, you can add filters. Now they have filters. You can make yourself black and white. You can make yourself rainbow. You can do all kinds of other integrations that are adding other apps to it. And for the first time, I figured let them keep it simple. They can make a video of themselves using emojis, or they can put in little text on it, but not to get too much in depth. So I set it for about 5 minutes, and I had each of the students not only make a video, but view all of the videos in their cohort. And I also set the integration so that they could like each other's video, rather than having to respond to each other's video, because when I used it the first time, they didn't have the ability to add text. They only had the ability to add video. So got me so far. So it was a great community building experience for the students. So I am doing this now, even though one of my courses is not open yet. I've already sent them the Flipgrid link, and I've sent them each a unique code, and I've asked them to do a video introducing themselves. And also on top of it, I did a little pre-assessment. So it's a writing class, a teaching of writing. So I wanted them to give me as much as they knew about pre-writing. So I'm now thinking it's not only just for non-academic work, but it's also really good as a pre-assessment. So it's a short way for them to not have to write what they know, but to speak on what they know. And it's interesting, I already viewed 2 videos, and 2 of the students started to talk about how they perceive themselves as writers, and they haven't really answered the prompt yet. but at least they're starting to think about the class and they're starting to think about how to present themselves in front of other students. The great thing about Flipgrid is it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to ask for a subscription, and it's free to the students. So the only thing that you have to be mindful of is setting the controls so that they're private, because you probably don't want it to be public. Okay, so I really like the idea of using Flipgrid to build community with the students so that they can see each other. It also helps me to get to know the students' names. So the students were really impressed by the time I got to Zoom. I knew all of their names because I was able to watch the videos multiple times. And it was really helpful in one instance where two students had almost the same name. So it worked out perfectly, and that will happen in classes. Okay, so I am going to think about other ways to use this program in Flipgrid, because I find it's not only convenient, but the students take to it right away. So for example, I'm thinking about ways to use it as a nice alternative to having them write on a discussion board. So instead of having the students write on the old-fashioned discussion board, I'm thinking of you having them do a writing prompt, speaking out loud. And you can also add in, I haven't done this yet, you can also add in your own rubrics as a teacher, and you can also provide individual feedback to the students very easily now. This is a new feature in Flipgrid. Used to be that you had to like send a separate email, and the email sometimes didn't get to them. Now they have a feature where you can add the feedback right on there and email them. So this is fantastic. So Dermot talked about integration, and Microsoft is doing a lot of work on Flipgrid. And I attended a webinar with Flipgrid, and I found that Flipgrid is trying out a lot of new things, and they're really customer service oriented. So they're interested in how teachers are actually using this. So this isn't just for your grad classes. This is for your teacher candidates to use with their students. So that's the double, fun about this application, that you can teach it to them and they can then use it with their students. But here's the coolest thing, that Flipgrid has all of these libraries of topics that are already made by K through 12 teachers. And on top of it, they have archives of nonprofit organizations who have now decided to use Flipgrid. So we have the Metropolitan Museum that has their own library. We have, there's a Dyslexia Association that has their own library. There's a number of them. Okay, so some of the other ideas, wait, let me go back to integration for a second. I need to go ahead for a second. Okay. I mentioned dyslexia, that the nonprofit association is made for dyslexia. And you've heard of Nearpod, so they have their own integration with Flipgrid. And they have a library, Conversations about Race, Justice, and Equity. And they have a library of conversation starters. They have a ton of libraries in which your teachers could go in and they could take topics to use for their class, and they can reuse the topics. So not only do you have topics that you can use, but your teachers have topics that they can use, and they can watch videos on other teachers who have used Flipgrid in their classrooms. So they can come up with all kinds of resources and ideas. It's actually called a playlist library. And there's some more complicated features in Flipgrid where there's portfolios up and people can become pals and things like that. But just to keep it simple, I found that these libraries have a lot of really good ideas for your teachers, like the Metropolitan Museum. So it's something that if you go to Flipgrid and you get on there, you can look through those libraries.
And that's
Okay.
on their website? Is that where you access those?
Yeah, when you logged in before on the educator dashboard, you go to playlist and those libraries are in playlist. So
Awesome.
and also you can take their tour. It takes about like an hour and a half. I went on YouTube and took their tour. So in that tour, I mean, it's very peppy and stuff. So you got to get through that peppiness. It's like ultra peppy. But once you get through that peppiness, you can find some really cool resources for your teachers in K through 12 and beyond. Like I said, there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that are starting to use Flipgrid. So do look through them and see if you can find topics that relate to you or your teachers for them to use, because a lot of them will be remote teaching or hybrid teaching this term. So it's important for them to have resources that are not just vague. It's important for them to have resources that they can use, and I think they can use them with Flipgrid and their Google Classrooms, but they'd have to ask their tech person. So it's becoming a really big thing. So I'm thinking going back to writing prompts for a second, because building community is the one thing that I really think Flipgrid is fabulous for, especially teachers before the course opens, because they can do it right on their phone and they don't even have to be in, they could be out on the beach, they can be anywhere and do this. But I also think about these writing prompts, and I'm big on writing prompts. And I'm thinking that there are many ways that you can do the writing prompts, the video prompts. You can have them write and submit their little video and collect the script. I've done that before. I don't rate the script, but I make sure that they have a script. Or you can have them do a spontaneous video, or you can have them do a rehearsed video. So all of this is really a good thing. Last summer, I had students do videos, and I didn't use Flipgrid. I used Flipgrid to introduce the class, but I didn't use Flipgrid. And I found that there was a lot of work involved with them uploading into Google Classroom. And so this is a more direct way for them to do a 5-minute video or a 10-minute video. This is not for them to go into their classroom and, as I said before, videotape them with kids, but if you want to have them do a demo, if you want to have them demo something, like I had them demo an ABA sequence, that's applied behavioral analysis. I had them demo a behavioral sequence. And so that is something that I could have done on Flipgrid, and I could have collected the script. And I find value in that because that kind of writing prompt forces them to think. That's not just spontaneous. By the way, they can edit their videos in terms of they can keep redoing their videos. So if they don't like their video, they can redo it. You can also use Flipgrid to just introduce yourself to the students if you want. And I did that the first week as well. I did a video of myself and introduced the course. So that's another way to use this application.
Is there a time limit on the length of the videos?
Yeah, there's settings that you can set. I think they've lengthened them past 5 minutes. They used to only go up to 2 or 3 minutes, which I found really frustrating. But they've lengthened the videos to 5 minutes, and I think beyond that now. I think the videos go up way beyond that, but I haven't experimented past 5.
Elizabeth, quick question. Can students remotely do a group video? Is there any way of, like, if students are in different locations, could they do like I'm just hypothetically thinking, like a collaborative lesson together, like a presentation?
They can use Adobe Sparks and upload it. There's a way of uploading a video to Flipgrid.
Okay.
So that's a good idea. They could upload a video. You mean together, or you
Like together, if they're in 3 different locations, just say that they're doing this remotely. Is there any way that they can collaborate and do the video simultaneously, such as like the beginning part of a lesson, a middle part, and an ending part?
They could do it on Zoom. They could record Zoom, and they could probably upload it to Flipgrid, because you can upload videos now.
Okay.
Right. So they'll
Thank
have to use a platform to get all those people communicating simultaneously, record that interaction, and then that file can then be recorded, uploaded onto Flipgrid.
Okay.
Flipgrid won't be able to do all of that process itself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's not as direct yet. You could also upload URLs. So if you want, you say your students to look up something and then write on it, or look up something, write, and then record a video on it. You can put the URL in. For example, I put one up on social emotional learning, and I had them, refer to it if they needed to make their video. So again, it's similar to a discussion board, but it's more modern. It's more in the now. It's the instructor can use it informally or as a critique to critique the video. I believe that Elaine is doing that with hers. Elaine, you're doing something like that with ASL? Elaine Gale.
Yeah, I'm doing the ASL, but they're not critiquing. So what they have to do is it's an exit ticket, and they have to sign the exit ticket back to me. So it gives them the opportunity to use their sign. And then I'm using the rubric to as an exit ticket to say if they met the requirement or not. And then also give feedback on their signing. I wanted to ask, you said you can actually provide, students can use text for the Flipgrid too, in addition?
Yeah, but it's still a little clunky. You have to put the text in the video.
So that's not the automatic caption then?
No, you can, like if I wanted to give myself a title or something, I can type that in video. But it's still a little clunky. On the tour I took, they said you can use text, but it's still not, it's not as smooth as they wanted to. It's mainly a video app. So I'm thinking about using Flipgrid for assessment in the future, to use it as formative assessment. So if, for example, if I have students read a chapter and we have a discussion on a topic, I could use Flipgrid as an informal assessment and have students do lightning talks on what they learned about the topic, rather than have them do the usual, summary writing, or have them, just submit some kind of a document. So I like the idea of using it for assessment because it's very quick, and I'm always looking for ways to do assessment that are not just at the end of the term. So that's my goal, to try to interweave that into my courses this year, is to use it as formative assessment. Some of the resources, as I mentioned, are on the playlist. And for example, here's this. Let's see if I can open this. I'm not sure I can. Made for Dyslexia. This is their library. They have their own little blog. And so they have all kinds of ideas, and you can take their tour on how to integrate it into your classes, or how other organizations use it. And so, oh, here it is, Made for Dyslexia.
There you
Can
go.
everybody see that? So that's on the Flipgrid site, so that you'd go there and you'd be able to see what other teachers are using as a writing prompt. So if you could, Dermot, if you could click on one of these, My Superpower. So if you have kids in your classroom who have dyslexia, and you would want to open up a discussion, you'd give them some writing prompts from here. So they even integrate here. This is interesting because they integrate a video by Orlando Bloom, and then they have the students write about it or talk about it. So these are like, you can go to their resources and come up with ideas, but you don't even have to take their ideas. You can come up with ideas based on some of their ideas. And they want you to do that. Lane?
I just learned about discovery, so thank you for sharing that. So I was just pretending I was interested in something. Now, I guess you would just click share and then share that. But what if you want to edit it? So if you click share, does that automatically become your own and then you can edit it?
I think so. I think that you would want to edit it, and I think that's what you can do. They allow you to take those topics, so I'm sure that's what the share feature is about. At some point, they probably credit the author, though.
It's kind of like almost going into your own playlist at that point, you know, and then you can incorporate it. As Elaine said too, there is this main page, what we're looking at right now, called Discovery. Once you log into your account, again, remember, please go ahead and log in via your Hunter SOE ORG account. That's the only way you're going to be able then to incorporate it into your Google Classroom. And that shows the different collections they have, and really allows you then, as Liz mentioned earlier, there's the Mets, channel, and the BBC's in there, California State Parks, and it seems like it's a really vibrant, expanding platform. A lot of K-12 work, especially we've seen a lot of work in math, where people will use their camera almost like a projection system and then write out equations and go through process.
Yeah, so I find that any app that your teacher candidates can use or your leader candidates can use for their teachers is great, because if you know it this much, they'll know it this much, because they're really comfortable with this technology. So they'll, you just give them the entrance to it and they'll be going wild with it. So that's what I really like about it.
And that's addressing two, huge needs, because Blackboard, as many of you know, our instance of Blackboard is only going to enable a 20 megabyte upload. Here it's just an embed of a URL. And then secondly, what Liz already mentioned, probably the biggest weakness of Google Classroom is the paltry discussion board feature set. And this really does then just replace it, which is really what we need.
Which is really what we need, which I'm glad you mentioned, because you can embed this in your Google Classroom. I was bothering Dermot to do that this summer, so that let's say I wanted to score it in Google Classroom. I gave them 100 points for logging on in the first week of summer school and introducing themselves. You can embed this in Google Classroom, and Dermot may be able to help you more than I can, because the bad thing about Google Classroom is we can't see it from the student side. You can embed this in Blackboard as well. But what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to get away from that. And I'm going to have the students just start to get comfortable with it without using Blackboard or Google Classroom, so that I feel that they can go wild with it because they're more comfortable with the technology than I am.
I had a quick question. Since you were talking about integrating with Google Classroom, do you know, is that possible for Blackboard by chance too, just for grade? Because I have a course, we share a Blackboard site for multiple sections, and so we kind of use the grade book there. Is there a way to integrate it?
Yes. What I did was I put it in, I made an item. I made an item and then I put it in the item. And then if I wanted to score it in Blackboard, I used an assignment tool, in the item, and I made 100 points. That's my favorite, 100 points. So I would make it like first thing, introduce yourself in Blackboard. So, I mean, another way to do it is on the discussion board, but that gets really hairy, because then you have to keep sending them notices. Remember that you're not actually writing on the discussion board. So embedding it, you can do it a couple of ways. I think there's an embed code, Dermot. Do we use the embed code? Or
Code's
you
certainly
can-
one way you could go about it. And within Classroom, that's pretty easy to do. As you can see, once you develop these, topics within the control board of Flipgrid, there's share options that give you various Flipgrid codes. As you see there, there's even a button that's direct to Classroom. I think the code, though, also, if you popped that into, Blackboard would hyperlink it and would recognize it. So once clicked, then you'd go right to the Flipboard, to the interface.
Yeah, what I did was
Flipgrid.
to make it a little easier for the students, I'm assigning a unique code for each student. So I started with 100, like Mary Smith is 100, Tony Danza is 101. I made a list of myself in Word, and then I just copied it, and I said they have to email me and they get their code. And they'll have their code for the whole semester. So once you get their code, you can copy it, and you can put it in the other topics. When you develop your topics in Flipgrid, you can also change the illustration in the background. So in my illustration in writing prompts, I have this blue background. And I don't know if you can see it, but the other day I was trying, and I could have changed the screen for another background. There's a bunch of illustrations, and there are also controls that you can set. So if you want to, monitor or moderate differently, you can set the controls. So if your teacher candidates are working with younger kids, they might want to set the controls. By the way, this is so interesting because Microsoft has developed the program so that if your teacher candidates are using this with K through 12 students, and your K through 12 students write in a curse word or they make an allegation of bullying, the software will pick it up. So it's really, I find that really cool. I mean, nothing is 100% perfect if they have a slang word that we don't know, but they're really working hard to work with customers to find out how to do this so that it's really safe in K through 12 and it's really safe in our graduate program. It has to be safe because we have a lot of vulnerable people right now. So I found that really cool that they're able to pick up these integrations and you're able to set and moderate the controls. And it just keeps getting more and more sophisticated because the first time I used it, it was very clunky. And I think now it's getting more and more sophisticated. So this guy that Kenny had lecture in my classroom said that his class in District 75, they do whole portfolios in Flipgrid. And I think that's a cool way to go, but I'm not there yet. I think it's keep it simple for now. Use it for community building, use it for connecting, getting students to know each other's names, writing prompts instead of writing an assessment or any other creative thing you want to use it for. If you want to have them demonstrate something, if you want to have them show competency in an area without having them just videotape with their phone, this is a great way to do it. So
I have a question. Liz, you mentioned that you give your students codes. I'm using Flipgrid for the first time next week, and maybe this week because I want to get them started with the orientation. I was just planning that to put, there's a box there that says everyone with this certain kind of email address can get in, and I was going to use the huntersoe.org. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what you did. So you made a code for each student, gave them that code, and that's how they got in, or did they?
Yeah. No, you can use the Hunter SOE. When you log on, it gives you options. You can use your Hunter SOE, or there's like a picture of a backpack. There's a logo with the backpack, and it says use student IDs. So when I first saw that, I thought, "Ooh, I have to put their Amplit ID in. That's awful." And then it turns out you can give them a unique code. So I prefer to give them a unique code because sometimes students, they can't remember their SOE, or they're out at the beach or something. So giving them a number like 101, I found is easy for them to remember. As long as they have the link to your topic, that, like if you send them an email, you'd want to give them the link to the topic and their unique code. So I just developed a code for each person in the class. I only have like 28 students in the class, so that was easy for me to do. And it's easy to just add them as you go along.
Yeah, as Liz said, the interface has gotten really clean. Here, looking at the discussions, you can have different prompts or topics. Then as you see next to them, you can activate them, you can share them. There's your code. You could pop that code right into a Blackboard or Google Classroom posting, or you could associate those topics within cohorts. And then, of course, you can add people really easily to the cohorts if you want, by pasting their emails in like that. And most importantly, we can help you do that. And lastly, another thing to consider is then even Flipgrid now has a great functionality where it will pop out data into a CSV that looks like this. It shows your grid, your topic, the person, when they went into it, all that kind of stuff. So you can really quantify it if need be, if that's what you're looking for. That functionality has really grown up a lot within the platform in the last few months.
Is there support? Like when I can't seem to find like a cheat sheet for support to give to students if they need support.
Well, we're going to start developing more materials for that because we need to, but Flipgrid also does have a help section, which we're looking at now. That's put that right now in the chat, and it's decent. They also have, there's their terms of usage notes, their compliance with FERPA. We're going, and here's getting started students. I'll put this right in the, the chat for you. And because of Liz's experience, and we think because of what other faculty members have been saying, we at the Frankfort Center are going to have to start really supporting students more so on it too.
I didn't know that when you set up the discussions, is it possible to create, and you were saying you have 28 students, that's actually how many I have right now. So I was thinking for some maybe discussion boards that I was going to do, setting up groups, like groups of 7, or so that they're not, it's a little more manageable, because I really want them to watch each other's and maybe even respond to one student. Is there a way to set up like a thread or to send them a unique link, like, okay, you're group 1, you're group 2, with the same prompt, but in smaller groups?
Absolutely. Here you could make all those groups you want, and then your prompts are really under topics. So then if I want to put philosophy of education prompt in multiple groups, I can easily do it, but then still
there's even
have
a groups tab. Okay.
Yeah, right on.
Okay.
And so, and as Liz said, that's a positive thing about this platform: unlimited groups, unlimited topics, no cost, and a Google sign-in. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you can set it, I would set it to private, and if you feel, your topic is so like wonderful, you can set it to public if you feel like you want to be a good Samaritan and let the whole educational world see it. But it's really up to you. I set it to private to respect the privacy of my students, but there's a couple of test ones I put out there that are just, public. So, if you think of a good prompt and you want to share it, you could put it in public. But it's
without
fun
having
when
the
you,
feedback from your students, unless they give compliance to share it. I mean, the feedback. Yeah, right.
Yeah. If it's private, is it vetted? I don't understand that 100%. Could you explain that?
So if students want to share it with the rest of the world, does somebody look at it first before they allow it to be public?
No, you would set it to be private yourself. You don't want them to set it in any way because we want to stay within Hunter College.
Oh,
If you
okay.
wanted to develop your own topic, Judith Schwartz is like maven on whatever you are, you can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you wanted to speak on something and make it public, you could do that. But I wouldn't do that for the students because they, you know, we are being very careful.
So we would make their account, we would be in charge of making their account private?
Yeah, all you have to do is when you set the topic, there's a little click that you private or public, and you just click private, and that's the easiest thing in the world. So it's
Can I
not
ask
a problem.
another question, Liz? And Dermot, so our students can get accounts, their own accounts that they could use with their K through 12 students
Yeah,
using the Hunter SOE account.
That's right.
Great, that's great.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can also set it so that it can link to their email, so that if they get a new video or something from their classmate, they could, you know, get an alert. Like if that's in your assignment, like you have to look at 3 videos of your colleagues, that you could set it so that they could get it in their SOE email, an alert. Like when I get Flipgrid videos, I get alerts. So I could be sitting there watching TV and I could get an alert and watch my students' video.
But are they using your account, or are they using, like, do all of your students have to sign up for their own accounts?
They use the SOE account. They just, like, if I send them a topic link, right, and a code, they don't even have to have an account, right, Dermot?
That's right. And if they do want to have an account, it's actually pretty painless. I mean, I can show it to you this quickly. They literally would go to Flipgrid, and I'll put that link also, pardon me, in the URL, though. I mean, if they type it, it will come right out too. And as you can see then, they're like, oh, okay, you're an educator. You want to log in with your Google account? And that's when we remember those Hunter SOE ORGs, they're Google accounts. They click that, the link's made with that account, no password required. So it's a pretty quick, straightforward process. It's one of the main reasons why we dug it so much, and the discussion board functionality, and most importantly, the really positive feedback from faculty like Liz.
So I just want to make sure I understand this. So I'm the one that has the account, and they're using my account, or just by logging in, they're creating their own account as well? I'm just unclear about that.
If you want to use it for your classroom as a graduate class only,
Yes.
you
Yes.
could just send them the link for that topic and their unique code. They don't have to have an account. If
Okay.
you want them to, if they say, oh, I really love this, I'm teaching remotely, love to use it, then you could suggest they open up their own account, because you're not going to do everything for them, you know, as much as you love them. You know, so they would have their own account, and then they could do their own topics to their own students, you know, as long as their students know how to use it. And
Gotcha.
so they'd have to be able to walk their students through it.
Wow, it sounds great.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah, now that you see TikTok, I mean, you're seeing a lot of children utilizing short form video for narrative processes in innovative, fascinating ways. And Flipgrid, I think they'll pick up often quicker than I did, certainly.
Quicker than us.
Quicker
Yeah.
than us. And they love to tell their stories. Like when I had them introduce themselves, you know, people were bringing in their dog, people were bringing in their kitchen. I was like, I don't think of these things, you know, they are like glamming themselves up, putting in these beautiful filters. You know, I do a video, it takes me an hour because I don't like it. You know, they're like, it's like amazing how quickly they pick up these videos and they run with
That's
them.
great. I think I'm gonna try it for my icebreaker.
It could
Yeah,
be
and
worth
if you-
it.
I have a question about getting students signed in the first time to join a group. So I created a group and then a bunch of topics within. And so now I'm imagining that, because I saw there's a button for Microsoft and a button for Google. So I'm imagining they're going to click Google and then they're going to use the huntersoe.org to sign in. And so I should check with you, Dermot, right? To make sure that they all have those email accounts. 'Cause this is
Oh
the first-
yeah, I mean the good news is officially they should. If they don't, then it's better we find out anyway because we need to get them those accounts. And once they have them, adding them is really pretty straightforward. And then I'll send you a list of those accounts. Here, say would be that group. Then you literally can edit your group, and then you could literally cut, copy, and paste their emails right into
But would the
field and pop them in.
well, will the at huntersoe.org be good enough as long as they have an account? Then
Oh
they-
yeah,
yeah,
of
okay.
course. And
Okay.
or you know, I think what Liz did maybe with some of her students, maybe I might be wrong, is they already have accounts and you send them the code. Once they click the code, that correlation is made then between joining that group and the account they already have. Like there's a few ways for them to join, or they don't have to join, they could just get the code. There's a few options.
Yeah, I've tried also the guest topic that if I didn't really want to make a code, if I was too lazy, there's a way to do it. It's a little clunky, but I think it's better that they have their own code.
And then, you know, then in time, you can have topics that you might really get some good leverage or use out of, and then you can shuffle them into whatever groups in however way you want, because they're delineated. So if you had a group that had some wonderful topics, you'll have those topics on a separate page that you can then reuse, repurpose, or iterate furthermore into future groups.
Yeah, you can reuse your topics. And I'm just excited that I get to know the students' names ahead of time, and that if I forget somebody's name, it's, you know, I can go back to my videos. Or if I forget something about them, I go back to the videos. So that's really helpful.
And also, we really appreciate that you then utilized it with your class and really brought this up to us as to the utility of it. Because, I mean, the best ideas that we have generally are from faculty doing things with their students and learning and doing the hard work like you did on this, and as many faculty have done in the past with different tools.
Yeah.
And then I
So
can
I
take
think-
credit for them. You know, that's the most important part.
Yeah, I mean, the more creative we get with this and the more we can share on these ideas, I think it's a really excellent way to go. And during COVID, this is really important because the students will get really bored with the same old things, you know, the research paper and the discussion boards. So we really want to engage them and make sure that they are actively working, because sometimes they'll go on Zoom and they'll turn off their cameras and leave, and you won't even know it. So this is a way,
excellent
this
point.
is a way for them to make sure they do something.
Just had another question. Oh yeah, Elaine, thank you for looking into that. It's Elaine's understanding that captioning is automatic and can be turned on after the video is made. I wouldn't doubt that, which is incredible. So yeah, no, Liz, we really appreciate your time today. Do you have any closing thoughts, or you mentioned some of the ways you're going to be expanding your use of the platform?
Yeah, so I'm going to be using it for writing prompts instead of writing, especially for those students who are weaker with writing and they're really good with voice. The opposite is true. We have students who are really talented narrators. I'm also thinking of using it as formative assessments, so that if you give a topic, if you teach a lesson, you want to make sure that the students have it. And this is a way for them to, check for understanding. Not just for interaction, but for your own understanding. And then you can give them feedback. So those are my 3 ways. And I also recommend that you keep it simple when you first start. Like any other tool, it's really important to keep it simple, master it, and feel good about it, rather than trying 100 bells and whistles and then feeling very overwhelmed. We can always add to it. But if you abandon it, it's not, it's going to feel bad. So it's better try something simple.
And here we have the Flipgrid I called it Flip board anyway, so I'm happy I was muted. The Flipgrid blog, a site that Liz posts on her deck that shows some of the new innovative, interesting ways the platform's being used.
Yeah, and Dermot, if you want to share this PowerPoint with people, go, feel free. I didn't even, there's a lot more to it, but I think that, this is a good start.
Absolutely. We really appreciate your joining us today and, everything you do here at Hunter College. And I really appreciate everyone coming. Are there any final questions for Liz today?
Yes, I had one question. I just posted it in the chat. If you use this for a formative assessment and a student posts a video, will everybody in the class see that student's post, or can that be made private between you and the student?
You can,
There's
you
a
can,
way to, yeah, go ahead.
you can make it private. That's one of the reasons why I am using it, because some students are not comfortable with their signing. So for the assignments I'm giving, it's just going to be between me and the student. And you can always open it up later if you want. I think it's a button called moderation something. There's a button called, I think it's called moderate. It's a weird name, moderation. And
Moderate.
click on it, and it will let you make it private, just between you and the student. And you can always make it public if you want to after the fact.
No, I'm looking to keep it private because some of them, especially, when I turnkey this with my K-12 teachers, students, some of them want to have an audience, but many of them, especially in subject areas like math and science where they really struggle, they will be much more likely to answer a question orally if they know it's private.
Yeah. Yeah, and there it is. And as you can see, these are all the bells and whistles that you can add to it. And the obvious ones are emojis and GIFs, GIFs, but there's other things they can add to their videos.
And we'd be more than happy to help you then as you're fine tuning these topics. If you want someone to check to make sure they're reflecting of the permissions you want, just let us know at the Frankfort Center. We can go into there with you to make sure they're the way you want, and then that your students are supported in going ahead with what you wish to have them do.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm really interested when people start experimenting in in how you're using it. I'm really very interested.
We can't wait to take credit for your hard work. That's really the motto of the Frankfort Center. So Liz, again, thank you so much for joining us. And to everyone else, please, as you're going about looking at these new platforms and innovative practices in your classes, I hope you'll share them with us so we can have you talk and then have me talk less, which will make everyone a lot happier. So thank you everyone for coming today. We really appreciate your time and let's do anything.